Today, we are going to crack the code on a huge problem in the business world. Why do so many enterprise AI projects just completely fizzle out? But more importantly, we're going to lay out a blueprint to get you into that elite 5% that actually get it right. So let's dive in.
Let's just start with this number, because it should really stop you in your tracks. A 2025 study from the MIT Media Lab discovered that a staggering 95% of enterprise generative AI projects deliver zero measurable business impact. 95%. That's not just a miss, That's a systemic problem. The big question is, why? Well, this is what everyone is calling the GenAI divide. And what's really fascinating here is that this isn't a tech problem. The AI itself, it's not really the main reason for failure. Nope, it's a strategy failure. It's this massive gap between what companies want to do and how they actually try to do it. And today, we're giving you the map to get across that divide.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll really dig into this divide. Then, we'll walk through our three-pillar blueprint for success. That's building the foundation, aligning with strategy, and owning the outcome. And finally, we're going to tackle the one core issue that ties this whole thing together, closing the learning gap.
All right, let's jump right into our first pillar, build the foundation. And honestly, there's no better example of this than the long game played by JP Chase. It's a story that really shows the power of having a long-term vision instead of just chasing short-term hype.
What's so telling when you look at this timeline is the patience it shows. Way back in 2017, long before the current AI craze, JP Morgan launched this thing called Coin. It wasn't some flashy chatbot for customers. No, it automated the super tedious work of reviewing commercial loan agreements. This patient investment in a kind of unsexy but absolutely critical area built the bedrock for much, much bigger things, like their Connexus division, which is now taking that foundational tech and turning it into major products.
And the payoff for all that patience? Well, it's massive. The Coin system saves the bank an estimated 360,000 hours of legal work every single year. This isn't some theoretical maybe value. It's a direct, tangible hit to the bottom line that frees up their human experts to do much more important work. So, the crucial point of Pillar 1 is this. Don't go chasing the shiny objects. Start with the unglamorous but super high-value problems sitting in your back office. When you solve those, you build a strong, reliable base, and you get these compounding returns that will fuel all your future innovation. Okay, so let's move on to Pillar 2 and see how this all connects. Align with strategy. And for this, we're going to look at the McDonald's AI drive-thru story, not as some kind of failure, but as an absolute masterclass in strategic discipline. The project had one core, non-negotiable business metric. How accurate are the orders? The target they set was 95%. But as you can see from this chart, the system just kept hovering around 85% accuracy. And for a business where getting the order right is literally everything, that 10% gap, it was a total deal breaker. And this right here just perfectly illustrates the lesson. Was halting the project a tech blunder? No way. The AI worked. It just didn't work well enough to hit that core strategic goal of a fast, accurate customer experience. Pulling the plug wasn't a failure. It was a really smart, disciplined business decision to protect their brand. So the big lesson for Pillar 2 is simple, but wow, so many people miss it. You have to define your business success criteria right at the beginning. Your AI project has to align with and actually achieve specific, measurable business goals. If it doesn't, it's not a success, and it doesn't matter how cool the tech is. And now for our third and final pillar, which, might be the most important one of all. Own the outcome. This one comes with a pretty sharp cautionary tale about why governance and accountability are absolutely non-negotiable. And it's all thanks to Air Canada. Just let that sink in for a second. This is a real quote from the airline's actual legal defense. This happened after its customer service chatbot gave a customer completely wrong information. They seriously tried to argue in court that the bot was basically its own person, responsible for its own mistakes. Yeah, as you can probably guess, the courts was not impressed. The tribunal's decision was crystal clear. The chatbot is part of your website, and your company is accountable for all the information on it, whether it comes from a human or an AI. The judge even called their argument a remarkable submission, which is pretty much legal speak for, "Are you kidding me right now?" And that really hammers home the core of Pillar 3. You cannot outsource responsibility. You can't just evade accountability.
If you want to build trust with your customers and even within your own organization, the business has to take absolute ownership of what its AI does, the good, the bad, and the just plain wrong.
Okay, so let's bring all three of these pillars together. We've seen why you need a solid foundation, why you need strategic alignment, and why you must have total ownership. So now for the final piece of the puzzle. How do you actually cross that GenAI divide and get into the 5%?
This chart right here, it tells a really interesting story. In 2025, about half of all AI budgets went to these flashy customer-facing projects. But the research is totally clear. The most dramatic and sustainable wins came from that unsexy back-office automation, exactly like the JP Morgan's Coin project. The ROI is literally hiding in plain sight.
But what's the deeper problem that connects all these stories? It all comes down to something experts call the learning gap. See, most of those failed AI pilots were just static tools. They couldn't learn from feedback, they'd forget what you told them yesterday, and they couldn't adapt. And this makes them brittle, meaning they just break when they hit new information, which makes them ultimately useless in a real dynamic business.
So how do you close that gap? Well, success isn't really about the AI model itself, it's about the support structure you build around it. It's about creating what's called enterprise orchestration. Think of it like the connective tissue that links the AI to your business. That means reliable data, strong security, loops for human feedback, and deep integration into the workflows your people are already using every day.
And this really brings us to the ultimate takeaway. We have to completely reframe how we think about enterprise AI. The goal isn't to buy a magic wand that solves a problem one time. The real goal is to build a learning partner, something that evolves with your business, gets smarter with every single interaction, and becomes a trusted, integrated part of your team.
So as you go back to your own work, you have to ask yourself this question. Is your organization building a magic wand, or is it building a true learning partner? The answer to that question will almost certainly decide which side of the GenAI divide you're going to land on. Thanks for tuning in.